And welcome everyone. Really appreciate you all joining us, all the investors, entrepreneurs in the audience, and the startups as well who are making this happen. So food is incredibly powerful. We all know that. It can topple governments, it reaches every corner of humanity, but it's also really good fun, and the best social interactions revolve around food. So that's why we do Eat or Delete, because we want to take this very serious topic and have a bit of fun with it. As Lise said, this is like a cross between Eurovision Song Contest and Blind Date with a little bit of Dragon's Den thrown in today. Each panelist will have 3 minutes to talk, and that is a hard stop. There will be a bell you'll hear when you, at the end of your 3 minutes, which will mark the fact that your time is up. I will not hesitate to use the mute button too. I have that power as host, so just to warn you there. So what we're going to do is at first we'll hear from the investors and entrepreneurs about the funding environment, and then we will move on to the startups who will pitch their ideas. Once we've been through everyone, we will then have a Q&A, and then we will put to a public vote who is the winner of Eat or Delete. Now, we've got some great prizes today. So we have, in fact, the previous winner of Eat or Delete, Shane, is just joining us right now, and he should be coming on right now, so he can show us the limited edition T-shirt that you will win, as well as a certificate. There's social media packs, and are you there, Shane? Shane, there we go. Look at that. Money cannot buy this, okay? And obviously, and you go away with a sense of pride as well that you're helping food systems, because everyone here today is doing amazing work, wherever they're coming from. You know, they're all trying to build better food systems and trying to do the right thing, and that's what we love, and that's why Quota exists. So, without further ado, I think I'll hand back to Lise, and she can start introducing our panel.
Yeah, so the exciting thing about this Eat or Delete is that we have 3 brilliant experts in the field who are going to share their experiences and their sort of view of the funding perspective, their view of the funding world in these incredibly unnerving and unusual times. We're going to start by asking Jonathan Lander from Volvere. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Everyone cut in and correct us if we're pronouncing things incorrectly. Jonathan's going to talk to us about, Jonathan invests in many things, but he's particularly excited about his investments in food businesses at the moment. They appear to us to be doing extremely well. That's obviously the kind of movement that would pique our interest. And Jonathan, if you could just, again, give us a few minutes of, your experiences and why food is really working for you right now.
Okay. Thanks, Lise, and thank you for describing our investments as doing extremely well. It's not often you can hear those words. I'm glad to hear it. I think maybe it'd help you giving a bit of background of what I do. So Volvere, it's Volvere actually, but
Volvere,
Volvere is actually an investment company that buys businesses that are generally loss-making or in some form of distress. And we got into food because the 2 businesses that we own today, and in fact, our only division now is food manufacturing, or in some form of financial difficulty. But we've owned one of them for 9 years and the other one for about 6 or 7 months. And over that whole period, have been looking at investing in other food businesses, mainly because we found we enjoyed in the sector and we've made money out of the sector. So the environment today, I should say that half of the hat that I wear, if I can wear half a hat, is investing in failing companies that need to be turned around. The other hat that I wear is I like startups, and I used to run a venture capital fund that invested in what were called internet companies a long time ago, and other technology companies. It was what you would call an accelerator today is what I ran. So a personal level, I still invest in startups, but on a professional level, we invest in mature companies that require some fine tuning. The environment today, well, it depends what you do. If you're an early stage business, it's very difficult. It's always been very difficult. I think it's quite easy to launch and get some seed funding with a new, vegan brand or whatever it might be, or a new food to go concept. But getting it into something that's scalable, that's big, with proper financing behind it, it's extremely difficult. You've got all the overlay of COVID-19, and in the UK you have Brexit. You can buy all sorts of things today at prices that were much cheaper than they were a year ago or 6 months ago. So I think if you've got a new concept with lots of risk in it, I think it's very difficult. As I say, easy to start, but very hard to get to the next level. And most of the things that I see are in that category of nice concept, great idea, but getting it beyond a kind of lifestyle business, very difficult.
And it sounds to me as though you foresee that being the way of things for some time. You're not expecting to sort of snap a few bargains up at this stage with the view that they will prove to have been incredibly good value in the next year to 5 years.
Well, year to 5 years is a long range.
Right now, it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it comes in waves, and we've just launched a vegan brand because we think it's a good time to be doing that. But there are plenty of vegan brands around. I see them all the time. Every food conference that I go to, I see a new one.
Is that
I'm
30
being
seconds
belled.
or
Okay.
3 minutes?
I'm not making a pitch, but I'm happy to stop. Listen, I don't think it's about. I don't think timing is everything. I don't think the environment's going to change much for the next 12 months. 5 years is far too long. So I don't know. I'm silenced by the bell, Lee. So Gavin, you have.
We should have warned you that we were going to apply the same rules to the panel, actually. But I have a quick question just before we let you go, Jonathan, and that's on me because I should have thought to make sure I got it in there within 3 minutes. And that's to do with food versus other sectors. I mean, I understand what you're saying about the difficulties, but surely my money's better with you in food than in aviation or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's all about the price, but there's no doubt that food retail is doing really well in this environment. And so anything that you can get into a supermarket right now is going to sell more because food retailers are selling more than, say, food service. The problem is that because food retailers are so busy trying to supply their market, I don't think they're taking on new stuff in the same way as they otherwise would. The lead times are always long, but now they're pushing things right back to the back of the queue because they know they can sell lots of standard stuff. So that makes it a bit more difficult. But if you're selling to food retail right now, you're in a good place.
Okay, that's interesting. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. So the next person we're going to bring in is Matthew Cushen, who's with Worth Capital. Matthew, interestingly, you guys are inviting startups to come to you and seek funding. I wonder if you could speak to us a little bit about that, please. And along with the fact that, again, you will be very aware of the potential impact of a no-deal Brexit, which the government's asking us all to be preparing for, together with, of course, the new lockdowns being faced in England. But I know that you've got businesses outside of England. If you could just sort of speak to those points would be brilliant, please.
Blimey, I needed a warning for the big B word.
I know.
I thought that was a provider. I never answer questions on Brexit. So look, let's take the first bit first. So Worth Capital, we're a small venture capital company that I set up with a mate of mine 5 years ago. That followed about 12 years that we'd both been angel investing. So we'd picked up quite a bit of experience as early stage investors. And my kind of background personally is that I'm a retailer by trade and also an innovation consultant, and I still do a little bit of that. So I help AB InBev, Waitrose and people like that. But back to Worth Capital, we're very early stage. To pick up your point, Liz, about the competition, we have a competition that's open every month, so it's kind of always relevant for entrepreneurs. It's hosted on smallbusiness.co.uk. It's called the Startup Series, and we aim to pick a business per month to invest in. And what we look for is we're sector agnostic. I'll come back to food specifically in a minute, but we're sector agnostic. We look for business to consumer businesses, business to business. Our kind of thesis, if you like, is it's all about building loved brands, because that's what builds additional exit value for investors. As far as food goes, we have had some food and beverage investments. So, for example, I was one of the first investors in Nixon Kicks, which some people may have heard of. It's starting to make a bit of an impression now. And funnily enough, it's just about to announce tomorrow a rebrand. And that's kind of great business now in Sainsbury's, Tesco, Morrison's, Waitrose, Ocado. I quite like it because it's also in lots of casual dining, Wagamama, Nando's, pubs, etc., as well as lots abroad. But having said that, we do food and beverage. I'll pick up on Jonathan's point there. I think it's a bloody hard sector, and I agree with Jonathan that it's relatively easy to get money in the first place, bloody difficult to scale. That one of the reasons for that is interestingly, and this is kind of before the last 6 months, but I think we saw a shift in the last 5 years. It's actually easier to get into supermarkets than it used to be, but it's harder to stay with a supermarket listing. They're much more open to innovation, but also much more ruthless about clearing out businesses that aren't performing that well. So we just think it's a really tough sector. We look at lots of food and beverage businesses, but we invest in very, very few. So I'll just kind of temper my enthusiasm with that, manage everybody's expectations. I think there's lots of opportunity in businesses that are serving the food and beverage sector. So with better business to business solutions, is more efficient or whatever. And there we go. And look, I had to filibuster so that I didn't have to answer the question about Brexit.
Big question.
Well
dodged. Well dodged. I have follow-up questions for you, but we'll come back to those, I think. Thank you so much, Matthew. Ben, we are really, really excited about what Small Robot Company does. I think that your funding experience will probably be a bit of good news compared to what we've just heard from Jonathan and Matthew. But could you start by just explaining the thinking that went into the company in the first place?
Sure. So when I first started getting interested by the idea was actually, my background is in user experience design. And I was driving to work very, very early one day, and I was listening to Farming Today on the radio. And there was a program about the Oxford Farming Conference, and a big tractor company was talking about the future of farming, and it was very much as you would expect, bigger machinery, maybe driverless tractors, etc., and didn't really think anything of it. But then the next chap who spoke was a professor from a university in the northwest of England, who basically said that everything that the previous speaker had said was rubbish, and the way that food was produced, particularly cereal crops, arable crops, had stopped working. And rather than going big and mass production and looking at food as an industrial process, we needed to go small and look at how you can use small, lightweight, precise vehicles to be able to, one, produce more food, but use less inputs, very, very precisely applied or not at all, and so have a much more sustainable system. So that was very exciting, and I spoke to that guy as soon as I got into work, and then he introduced me to Sam, my business partner, who's a fourth generation arable farmer, and he saw the same thing from the inside. Basically, he saw that this was a huge issue, so we got together and thought, well, the idea of robotics is very exciting, but what do farmers want? So we put together a survey, or so I used my user experience background, and then Sam went out on the road for 6 months and sat down in the farm kitchens next to the Arga and patted the border collie and had long conversations with the farmers to find out what their problems were. And it allowed us to develop our service model, farming as a service, and allowed us to realize that what we needed to do was not automate single processes, but really deliver a healthy crop at the end of the year. And that's how we came up with our model of Tom, Dick and Harry and farming as a service, and how we managed to sort of move forward. But on the funding side, I think that it starts with pain. So we went for our first seed round of funding. We found an investor who was really into what we were doing. It was very exciting. They said yes. We said brilliant. We stopped talking to the other investors, and then a month before we ran out of money, they then pulled out. So we had to scrabble around to see what we could do, and we ended up going to use Crowdcube. And we were very lucky that we had generated quite a lot of interest. We'd had some interesting newspaper articles, some people were interested in us, and sort of piggybacked on the back of that, and raised our first round purely on Crowdcube. And a lot of those were farmers. So of the farmers we spoke to, 20 prepaid for our service. We had, I think, 150 farmers invest in us first time. And then the next time we went round for funding, we raised about $1 million that time, and then the next time we went round for funding, we just went straight back out to Crowdcube again, didn't bother looking at sort of industry investors. One approached us actually, a sort of early stage we raised an extra $4 million off the back of that.
Ben, before we let you go, I have to ask you to just very quickly explain farming as a service, please.
Okay, so rather than selling machinery to farmers, we provide a per hectare per year service and charge just for that. So farmers can adopt our system really easily. They can trial it on a field or a particular sort of area, find out if it works, and if it does, they can then expand it across the rest of their farm. It means it's very easy for them to adopt, and obviously much harder for them to move away from, because we don't provide any machinery for them to use. We deliver it and then take it away at the end of the day. So once they're working with us, they stay working with us unless they need to have a big capital expenditure at the end.
So in terms of the precision that you're obsessed with, that even goes as far as the sales side of things, which is what's really interesting as a model. It's a very precise model.
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay, good. Right. Thank you so much, Ben. That was wonderful to hear. Thank you. Right. Back to you, Gavin.
Yeah, well, firstly, that's great to hear from everyone, and really useful insights. I know that there are people who are in the audience who are starting up businesses, and I know that the insights they've already heard will be really, really helpful and useful about how they go about developing their businesses. So now we're going to move on to the startups, our superstars. So just to quickly introduce who's going to be presenting today, our contestants. First up will be Tom and James from Willsow Books, who are literally making stories come to life. Can you give us a wave? Hey there, thank you, awesome. Then second up, we'll have Romain from Spinoa. Is it Spinoa? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, exactly, Spinoa.
Spinoa, who's developing superfood production for the future. Can you just give us a quick hello?
Hi, hello.
And last up, we will have Thomas from BeoBia, who is trying to bring protein production home quite literally. There we go. So wish everyone luck, and without further ado, we'll start up first with Tom and James. So if you're ready to go, are you all ready?
Ready.
Okay, and your 3 minutes start now.
Hi guys.
Hello, I'm James.
I'm Tom, and together we produced the first ever plantable children's vegetable book. So all our books have roughly 500 seeds in the book itself, and all the pages are made from post-consumer waste recycled paper. And instead of using glue or metal staples, we bind our books with 100% natural cotton. So once you finish the story, you plant the pages to grow real vegetables. So our aim at Willsow is to get children spending less time with technology and more time in the garden, planting and having fun in the outdoors.
Yeah, so when we first got the book into people's hands, we knew it'd be a success. So we set out to sell to as many garden centres and gift shops as we could. However, COVID-19 quickly put the brakes on that plan, but we acted fast and began to work with a number of online resellers and e-com shops, as well as developing the advertising for our own website. This quickly taught us that vegetables can definitely grow during a pandemic.
So we are aiming to have launch 5 books a year and to have 15 books in the range in total. We currently have 2 books on the market at the moment. We have The Carrot Who's Too Big for His Bed and The Lettuce Who Wants a New Look. And we have just moments away of releasing our new trio into the wild, the Herb Heroes, which consists of dill, basil and parsley. Each one of our Read Me, Seed Me adventures has its own meaningful message. So the Carrot Who's Too Big for His Bed is all about teamwork, pulling the carrots out of the ground. And then our lettuce book is about diversity and about like hairstyles and accepting who she is. And then the Herb Heroes is all about the Herb Heroes doing random acts of kindness.
Yeah, so far we've sold just under 3,000 books, and the children's gift and book market is worth over £3 billion, and we don't feel like anybody is owning the space of sustainability. That concludes our pitch, but just like our books, the end of the story is just the beginning.
We'll just give a quick brief how the idea came up. So just before the bell rings. So I had this idea probably about 7 years ago. I'm the 4th generation printer in my family business. And I thought, I came across the paper and we managed to get the rights to put vegetable seeds inside the paper. And we then thought of an idea. I saw my cousins and they were indoors and I thought to myself, like, I need to get them outside. So the one was on the computer, another one was on there watching the TV, and the 2 of my youngest were reading a book. And I was outside in the garden, helping my grandpa do a bit of gardening. I just had a bit of a eureka moment. I told my cousins about it and they said it's impossible. And then eventually with my printing background and with James and the team, we made the impossible possible.
Brought it to life.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there you go.
Like literally,
there we go.
Perfect timing.
Right,
3 seconds.
Couldn't have done any better. That's amazing, and I love that idea. I mean, it's just like the most incredible idea, you know, of putting the seeds in the paper. It's just like combining 2 things into this like absolutely amazing product. So yeah, really love what you're doing there. Thanks. So we'll move on to our second contestant. So second up is Romain. Are you ready?
I would like to share my screen before to start.
Hopefully you should be allowed to.
Please let me know if it's fine. I think it should be fine.
It's up there, yeah.
It's there?
Yep,
Are you all ready?
Yes, I am.
Okay, your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay. So it all started on a 1-year journey in Asia on a bicycle. On my way, I met in Bangkok the company Energaya that grew spirulina on the rooftop of the Novotel. And so meet spirulina. Spirulina is a microalgae, which is a superfood. In 1974, the United Nations declared it the food of the future. Also, NASA chose it for its nutritional profile to feed astronauts on a special mission. And recently, the city of Nestlé declared we are actively exploring the use of microalgae as an alternative protein and micronutrient source for exciting plant-based products. Our project ambition tackled 2 main challenges. One is health. Our diet lacks micronutrients and it leads to health issues, while 39% of the population is overweight. And to limit climate change, we have to the degree we should spare natural resources, and more importantly, we have to reduce our greenhouse emission by 1/3 until 2050. We believe that locally farmed spirulina can address those 2 challenges because spirulina is a superfood, contains 60% of proteins and a lot of vitamins and minerals, but also because in the same time it requires very few resources to grow and emit very few greenhouse gas emissions. So, and you wouldn't believe it, but spirulina can actually taste good. And for that, it has to be harvested gently and dry on a low temperature. Spinoa specialized on spirulina and distributed in a dried, innovative form and also integrated into products like chocolate, honey, soap, and all of this is made locally in Romania. We've built an online community and work with restaurants, coffee shop, places like coffee places in Romania. We did this 2 years ago. And today our product range, thanks with this product range, we are selling the equivalent of the standard production farm production. So in the same time, we've worked on the R&D, and this summer we did a proof of concept farm in the south of Romania. And for 2021, our objective is to launch a pilot farm in near Bucharest. Spirulina grows almost everywhere, but needs some specific condition. It needs a temperature, sunshine, and very high pH level. Let's take a look at what's happening in France. In France, there is a federation of spirulina farmers, which was created in 2009, which has today 150 producers all over France, increasing by 15% per year. And they offer training and technical support to their members, and the majority of them distribute their product in a short food supply chain. And if you take a look at this map, you will see that the majority of the producers are based in the south of France, actually, where there is more sun and light. So now let's compare it to the southeast of Europe. We see that it's a favorable temperature and a favorable sunshine duration.
I'm going to have to stop you there, Romain. Your time is up, unfortunately.
Okay.
But it's amazing what you're doing there, really, and love your enthusiasm for what you're presenting, and like it's a really great project as well.
Thanks a lot.
Amazing.
Can I just ask one question to clarify something?
Yes.
Just because I think this is important for us to all understand the business. Romain, is the scope of your business growing plus producing product plus distributing those products that you showed us on that slide, or is it just growing, or is it just the kind of branding of products or whatever? I didn't quite get that bit.
Yeah, so we started 2 years ago by distributing spirulina that we import. Today we import from Burkina Faso and from France, just in order to check if the market was ready for this type of product in Southeast Europe. And 2 years after, now we reached the capacity of selling for a standard farm. So today we want to make a farm, a local farm in Romania, and to organize it in a cooperative way to let other farmers produce. And that was my next point, is that the selling price allowed to have a good salary for farmers. It's actually twice as much as they would earn today. And so that, yeah, we want to launch this pilot farm next year, and that's why that's now our next project.
Amazing. Brilliant. Thank you, Romain, for your presentation. That's super great. And if anyone watching at all has any questions at all, put them in the Q&A. We're going to have a little bit of time as well for any more questions that anyone's got, if there's anything you want to know from anyone on the panel at all. So just add that in the Q&A down there. That would be amazing. So now we are going to go on to our third contestant, which is Thomas from BeoBia. Are you ready, Thomas?
Yes, I'm ready.
Amazing stuff. And your 3 minutes starts now.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Thomas, founder of BeoBia. Did you know that traditional livestock are responsible for 24% of the world's greenhouse gas emissions? But there's an amazing solution that's 22,000 times more water efficient than beef and can be created in your home by reusing your fruit and vegetable waste. Insects. Insects are eaten by over 2 billion people worldwide and growing. I've always been interested in nature and design. As a child, I used to play in the garden and find insects and sketch them. I used to love it. It was at university while studying design where I first came up with this idea. I realized there was loads of innovation happening around pre-made food, which is great, but there wasn't a lot of innovation happening around trying to empower people to create their own food in their own home. So I created Re. Re is a small kitchen growing pod that helps and empowers people to grow a sustainable, healthy, and nutritious source of protein in their own home by reusing their fruit and vegetable waste. In short, it tries to help people reduce their carbon footprint, recycle their food waste, and rethink their views towards protein. I designed the first growing pod back in 2018. I then joined the Loughborough University Business Incubator in 2019. We believe in the circular economy, so we design, ship and manufacture all the growing pods here in this facility using a fleet of 3D printers. All of the printers use recycled British bioplastic for the growing pods. We launched the pods on Kickstarter in July 2020, and we reached over £21,000 worth of pre-orders in less than 30 days, with a total of over 350 orders. We are currently manufacturing and shipping our pods all over the world. So from the UK to Peru to Australia to China and the US, everywhere. It's fantastic. And it's a really exciting time. We've started to get really good insights and customer feedbacks from the products. Interestingly, we initially targeted our product to a Western audience, but from our initial sales, it looks like BeoBia could have a huge impact in the humanitarian sector, which we're now exploring. We're living through a food enlightening period. People are increasingly passionate and interested about the health of our planet. BeoBia means food for life in Irish Gaelic, and we believe we can produce food without compromising our planet's health. Right now, we are looking to expand the team and start initial conversations with potential investors and partners. I just want to say thanks so much for listening to me, and I hope you can join us to create the food revolution. Thank you.
Oh, we didn't have to wrong you either.
Thank you, Thomas. That was brilliant. I mean, the whole idea is amazing, and where you're going with it, it's, yeah, brilliant.
Thank you. I'll put a link in just so you can see it, because you probably have a crazy idea of what's happening. So this is actually the growing pod here. It's kind of like a small, compact 5-tier unit. And I just put a link in the chat, so feel free to have a look. There's some great videos and visuals. It'll give you a better understanding of what we're doing.
Amazing, amazing
Thank
stuff.
you.
So it's brilliant to hear from everyone, because as anyone who's run a business knows, this is a big adventure that you're going on. So it's a huge thing to do. So congratulations to everyone. And I think we'll have a little bit of a Q&A now. So I'll hand back to Lise, and she can take
This is why Pascal hasn't managed to join us from Street Cube, doesn't it? Which is
he's not been able to make it, unfortunately. So yeah, we have the three though.
Well, we're living in strange times. All sorts of things are happening. So no, I have loads of questions already. And if any of the people in our audience have questions, do just pop them up either in the Q&A or in the messaging system. I just wanted to get back to Tom. So Tom, my understanding is that these pods are actually printed from, they're 3D printed from recycled plastic. So there's quite a lot within the structure of the business that is designed to be completely sustainable, isn't there?
Yeah, no, exactly. So we have, we reuse British bioplastic in our products, and we're really enjoying using it, and we're looking to expand and really create a circular economy approach. So right now we're trying to access how we can basically try and incorporate after the person's, if there's a breakage or they need a replacement, how we can try and mitigate the issue of it going to landfill or the recycling plant by taking it back to us, and we can recycle it here and then convert it into more products. So that's the next stage into trying to close the loop fully.
Yeah, and what's interesting to me is that the possibilities, I mean, that's something that you're able to do because this is run on a subscription basis. So your relationships with your customers is your relationship is very close, isn't it? It's you have kind of regular contact with them.
Yeah, I mean, it's a real kind of hobby. Right now it's very niche, but the market's growing. So right now the edible insect market is estimated to be around £1 billion. $1 billion, and by 2030 it's expected to grow to over 8 billion. So it's growing dramatically fast, and we're hoping to really try and capitalize on that and empower people to produce their own protein, no matter where they live, in central London, Tokyo. There's no limits. It's a very small, discrete product that can fit anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, when we first spoke, I sort of expressed my surprise at this business. But you were saying that actually you managed to fundraise really successfully using just crowdfunding, and you sort of launched with 300 subscriptions, which isn't a bad way to start any business.
No, it's great. I mean, it goes to show you the power of kind of like, you know, social media and crowdfunding in general. So, and because our product is so disruptive and uncategorized, it's really great to, you know, before you invest too much more time and money into it, you can get some great market validation and importantly, get some really great user feedback from people who have actually purchased the products. So right now we're halfway through shipping out the products and we're getting some very interesting feedback so far. So it's a really exciting time for us and we're eager to grow.
Yeah.
I'll just quickly jump in there. We've had a question from Aina in the audience who's said, sounds very interesting. And what would you say the problem you're trying to solve is? And what are some limitations or shortcomings of this solution?
Yeah, I mean, so great question. So right now, we're trying to allow people who live in areas to produce food where they otherwise wouldn't necessarily be able to. So, for example, if you live in central London, outside of having maybe a small herb garden, there's not a lot you can do unless you have access to an allotment or pay a lot of money for a sophisticated hydroponic system. You're kind of really limited, especially for growing high quality protein. So our product is really trying to allow people to recycle their fruit and veg waste, and that's the key thing here, because there are, if you have, let's say, an apple core or like some potato peelings, you can convert that otherwise waste produce into high quality insect protein. So it's a really effective urban growing tool. And the biggest issue, I'd say, or kind of hurdle we're facing is, as you can probably tell, consumer attitudes towards edible insects. As there's quite a lot of associations with negative things, basically. But that's changing, especially around the 16 to 34-year-old mark. And we're seeing big shifts in consumer feedback. But yeah, the hurdle of perceived ideas of what insects are is the biggest hurdle.
Brilliant, thanks. We've got a question from Martin, actually, to Tom and James. Martin's saying that kids' books tend to be kept and passed on rather than ripping out the pages and planting them. He's saying, wouldn't it be a better idea to use the same technology to address the gift card market, literally giving a single-use product a new exciting life? He says, it strikes me that the market broadens for you by selling to different ages, seasonal dates, and so on. Now, I know, Tom, we've talked about the fact that you do have other products in the works. Are you able to speak about any of those yet?
Yeah, not a problem at all. So our books are designed, so we did start off the business when there was seeds in every single page. We retailed at $12.99, but we wanted to bring that retail down from feedback from our customers and also feedback that they didn't want to plant the whole book. So in actual fact, the recycled post-consumer paper is every single page, but we only have seeds in the cover and the back page and the inside cover. So the principle is you read the story, and then you can read the instructions on the back page, and then cut the back page out and then plant the back page. So you still have the book and the story whilst the carrot, whilst the carrots are growing, they can read the book over and over again. And seasonal wise is that you can buy this book now. People are buying it for Christmas. We even put a belly band around the center saying Merry Christmas to Tom. And they can keep this for, there's no sell-by date or anything. So the just germination reduces in like 3 to 4 years time. But they can plant this in the seasonal time next year. So from May to September, and it will be perfect.
The other point to expand on that as well, we're looking to eventually have 15 plus books in the range that will cover a whole range of seasonality. So we're going to include books that you can plant in any conditions, indoors, outdoors. And just also on Martin's point around the gift card market, so it's a really interesting point. And actually, there are flower seed gift cards available in the market, and it's something that Tom and I had seen, and we just thought there's something more we can do with this. And we felt like with the romance of the children's story, bringing it all together, we felt we could really have an impact on kids and their parents, and get kids back out into the garden and learning about our environment and what it has to offer. So yeah, absolutely, we could add this into gift cards, but we felt once we've had people picking the books up, once we had it in their hands, we've got an opportunity now to educate them and give them something to remember, rather than a sort of shorter one-off card, if you like. So that was really the thinking behind that.
It's supported by Ofsted's #1 priority at the moment is to make reading more interesting and interactive. So trying to explain sustainability to children is quite difficult, but when they can actually touch and feel the paper and feel the seeds inside the pages, they can understand it and learn it in an easier way.
So we want to be, obviously we've got the books, but we want to be a brand that stands for all things sustainable, recycling, growing your own vegetables, growing your own flowers. So for us, it's about getting our audience involved with the books. But then once they've got the books, they go onto our website. They can learn about our products, what they're made of. They can learn how to plant, little tips and tricks and that kind of thing. And then eventually we'd like to expand that into growing gardening equipment, little gardening kits that you can use at home. So really, it's a whole brand. Obviously, the books are going to be the stars of the show, if you like. But for us, it's all about a brand that's going to encourage children back out into the garden. Like Tom said, sort of spending less time on technology and hopefully learning a bit more about the great outdoors that we've got around us.
Great. I mean, I'm sure you must have come to this with some numbers about the low proportion of children who have any idea where their food comes from, certainly in the UK. And how important it is to start addressing that, and how important it is obviously to encourage children at a very young age to understand and respect where their food is from.
Absolutely, yeah. And we've had some great feedback from customers that these books have led to their kids actually trying these vegetables for the first time. And if that happens to 1 or 10 kids, that's definitely a win for us. And then even in a more sort of circle of life way, we've got one of our readers who bought this book, and they plant them and grow lettuce to feed to their rabbit, which is really nice to hear. So yeah, plenty of ways.
I can sit here and chat all day, and I've got questions for Romain as well, but we should really ask Jonathan and Matthew and Ben. Actually, we might start with Jonathan, if you don't mind. Do you have any feedback on these pictures that you'd like to share with us before we actually ask everybody in the audience to vote?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Lise. I'll be very quick because I know you're running out of time here. First of all, I'm always delighted to see people starting their own businesses. It's great. I've done it, and the fear of failure should not stop you trying again, even if it becomes a failure. It's difficult to give you kind of positive remarks without giving the negative ones, but I'll try and give you some positive ones and some negative ones.
Be gentle with us, please.
I'll try and be gentle. So. Am I allowed to pick a favorite, or is that not allowed at this stage? Well, let me tell you what I think. Okay, so Thomas, feeding us with insects. I'm mildly concerned about how much food waste I have to put into that tiny little device to make enough protein for my 5-person family. That's what I'm concerned about. I think it sounds great, but I just feel it's just, for me, I'm concerned it's never going to be big enough. You start scaling that up, my entire flat in Tokyo will be taken up with this great bit of plastic. That's my concern, but if I'm wrong, let me know. It's a nice concept, but is it practical? Romain, I'm afraid you didn't get to the end of your pitch. I couldn't work out whether you were a farmer or a product manufacturer using somebody else's microalgae. I don't know, so I can't really express much of a judgment on it, unfortunately, in the time frame. For me, the plantable book idea, I mean, you made me smile. I thought your pitch was very good. And what I liked about it most is the fact that you focused on the brand. Because ultimately, you're actually pitching not to save the planet. You're not pitching to make us eat better. You're pitching for money. Investors want to make money. And by the way, these are sustainable businesses and so on, with all the CSR boxes that you tick. And I think you focus more on the thing that mattered here, which is building a brand, building something that's going to be around, going to employ people, can create more product and build more sustainability in your business because it will last. So actually, I thought you were the strongest pitch. I could say more on that. If my children had had it, I don't know what age was to have it, maybe they'd be planting the garden. Unfortunately, the only apple that they use is one that has keyboards on it.
Not for long, not for long.
There we go. That's it. So those are my comments.
Matthew.
Right, so quick thoughts. So on the books, you've definitely gained a customer, because my little great nephews, Walter and Corin, will be all over those when I give them to them for Christmas. So thank you for that. And I thought, you didn't mention it, but I looked at your website, but $9.99, great price. What I wanted to hear as an investor is the potential market. And I think £3 billion on kids' books, that's not the market that you are going for. You've got a much smaller group. So I'd like to understand what age group they're for, because there's 700,000 kids in each year age group in the UK. I want to hear how many years you're aiming for, what kind of product development you've got to be able to extend the market. I agree with Jonathan. I kind of quite liked hearing something about the brand, but I want to hear about how you can scale something that goes beyond a beautiful idea into a proper business. On Spinoa, yeah, I mean, I asked the question because I'm more interested in hearing about a business that is great at growing a superfood and serving that up as a product, as a raw material at the start of the food supply chain, rather than a business that's trying to create consumer brands across a number of different product categories. Creating a consumer brand in one product category is bloody hard. So I wouldn't really fancy a business that's trying to create a consumer brand across lots of different product categories, but I'm really interested in the story about the superfood and how efficient it is to grow and what the end benefits are to the punter. But I don't really want to see you go anywhere near branding that. I want to see you being a provider to the industry based upon what you said. And then on the insects, I'm absolutely intrigued. The $1 billion market as it stands at the moment, and I can well understand there'll be loads of growth. I'm intrigued in that market, and I'd love to know how much of that $1 billion is kind of consumer brand products that basically individual consumers are making a direct choice to eat bugs, or whether there's a lot of primary supply chain supply to then into other brands that are making it a lot more palatable to eat bugs. Because my real fear is that there's a hell of a lot for the industry to do around insects to change attitudes, to change behaviors, to change habits. It's bloody hard for you to do that directly with the consumer. And I think it's really hard to do that with a live product, particularly a live product that's sitting in your kitchen, wriggling around. So I think you've picked a really hard one to change consumer behaviors. I think it's much easier to do that when things are packaged up in things that we might be more comfortable to eat.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Matthew. That's really helpful. And Ben, did you have some views that you could share with us as well, please?
Yeah, just very quickly going through, I thought Willsow Books, it's a fantastic idea. I think the scaling of that to a significant business will be challenging, because it is very exciting, but it's very niche, and the sort of repeatability might be an issue. But as everyone said, I think you've got a customer in me there. I've got two small boys who love this sort of stuff. Romain, I did have a look at your deck that you posted, and I see that what you're doing is growing and aggregating and distributing spirulina, which makes perfect sense. And if you found a way to be able to reduce production and increase quality and increase sustainability about spirulina, that looks like a really investable business as far as I can see. Thomas, I've been lucky enough is as part of the sort of ag tech merry-go-round in the UK and internationally to be involved in and close to a fair few sort of bug companies, from beta bugs to lots of other ones. It's definitely a business. I think it's definitely a business for particularly for animal feed. I know that the legislation in Europe and the UK is very tricky around this and changing all the time. And I'm not sure how providing the homegrown element will work into that, but I think it's a terrific idea. One piece of advice, I really would move away from 3D printing if you're looking to mass produce them, because it takes a long time with a lot of waste in there. So as soon as you can move to having them produced using the right plastic, absolutely, but having them produced in a different way, the better.
Thank you.
Amazing. Well, thanks everyone for all of the feedback. And I think now it's time to go to the vote.
Yes, we have more anyway. Well, the thing is, we'll vote, then we'll wrap up and we'll talk about the fact that we can keep this conversation going, because it's still going. It's still going.
Yeah. So just to quickly recap, first up was Tom and James from Willsow Books, whose business model is built entirely on growth of carrots. Second up was Romain from Spinoa, whose microalgae has anything but micro business aims. And lastly was Thomas from BeoBia, whose next-gen protein is worming its way into our kitchens quite literally. So I will launch the poll now, and you've got 30 seconds to cast your vote. Okay, we have the results are in. And in third place with 19% of the vote was Romain. Well done. It was great. There's a lot of interest, and you know, it sounds like there's a really good business you got there, but you're on the journey. So thank you for joining in. Second place was Tom and James of Willsow Books with 34% of the vote, which means that the winner today is Thomas from BeoBia. Yay! Round of applause. Congratulations. So thank you everyone for joining in. This is, you know, such a great way to just build ideas, get feedback, discuss, talk, and grow the things, the businesses and the ideas that really matter to all of us. So thank you to everyone who's joined in with us, and well done, Thomas. Congratulations.
Yes, thanks so much. And one of the things that Tom didn't get to mention was that he's actually got a recipe book as well to help find what. So you can make soup and pies and all sorts of things with these bugs. Listen, there are so many questions still. There's a real live conversation still going on around these businesses, and that's really exciting. I mean, that's all that, you know, Quota can hope to nurture. So we'll be in touch with everybody who registered. It looks as though a good number of people didn't manage to get through for various reasons. These are weird times. And we will be circulating further information about these businesses to everybody who's attended, and as I said, everybody who signed up. So do let us know if there's anything you'd like us to include in those packs. And once again, we cannot thank you all enough. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Brilliant. And everyone have a look on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and join up with what we're doing at Quota. It's been great to have everyone involved, and you know, we want to go on this journey together.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.